That Miles Sanders rumor thing is out there. Let's take you inside of it. I'm Mike Fisher, your trusty and trusted reporter. This is the Fish Report. This is the Fish Bowl. Cowboys getting ready for a weekend at Las Vegas. That sounds like fun. Speaking of fun and putting a dollar on something, thanks to our partnership with BetUS. And thanks to 71,000 fish heads in Cowboy Nation. That's you who hang out with us each and every day. Breakfast at Fishies. You're the first, you're the last, my everything. And Fish at 6 live every evening. To me, based on what we know from when we used to see Miles Sanders play, which we haven't actually seen in a while, Miles Sanders is a better running back than the guys on this existing Cowboy roster. I don't think that's mean. I don't think it's unfair. And I don't think it's wrong. When we talk about Cowboy trades and acquisitions, though, we're careful around here to try not to do it in a knee-jerky way, or even, dare I say, a clickbaity way. For instance, AD Big asked, who's Uncle Fish Preview, what about this Hassan Reddick thing? Hassan Reddick is under contract with the Jets. The Eagles pulled a fast one on the Jets. They get a conditional third-round pick that could become a second if he's good there, because they didn't want to pay him. The Jets gave every indication. I mean, it had to be understood. We're acquiring you and we'll pay you. Then they acquired him and didn't pay him. So now comes this idea, well, why don't the Cowboys go get, because the Cowboys aren't going to want to pay him either. The guy that the Cowboys, in a blow it up remodel scenario, the guy out there who the Cowboys would acquire via trade, who's on a multi-year deal, would be a young guy, would be a young foundational guy, and probably not a $20 million guy either, because the Cowboys think they've already got enough of, or too many of, those kind of guys. All right, the realities on Miles Sanders. And ESPN has even pushed this one. And that's okay. Have your fun. I will say this, contrary to the opinion of the casuals, the Cowboys are well aware of what they presently employ in that running backs room. The good and the not so good. They are aware. Their awareness includes the possibility that the running backs room represents the greatest weakness on what I think is an otherwise solid, maybe even playoff worthy roster. Ezekiel Elliott listed as a starter, but there's no pretense about him being what he was. People have misquoted Big Mike McCarthy, badly from the springtime when he said they're quoting him as saying he hasn't lost anything. That's not what he said. He said he hasn't lost anything from the last time I coached him. Meaning the Cowboys think he can be the same player that he was in the months before they cut him. Nobody around here is saying he's the same player that he was in 2018 or 2017. Nobody's pretending that. He once won a pair of rushing titles here. He was about as good as it gets. Now he has name recognition and leadership and pep and status, but he's coming off the two worst seasons of his career. And the Cowboys know that. They have Rico as RB1B, as I like to call him. They view him as a promising prospect, but at this point, no more than that. Nobody's projecting Rico to go to a Pro Bowl. And the rest of the fellas, you might think this is harsh. And of course, we're going to know a lot more, not necessarily in the coming weeks, because we're not going to see Ezekiel Elliott, right? I guess we're going to see just a dab of Rico Dowdle. So until we get to Cleveland, by the way, Cowboys won. So at the risk of being harsh, has-beens and wannabes, young fullback, running back, tight end, Hunter Lipke, viewed as a keeper around here, still a wannabe. He hasn't done anything. Veteran Royce Freeman, who might make it due to special teams if he gets healthy, he's a has-been. Malik Davis. I like Malik Davis. Cowboys like him too. He's a wannabe. Deuce Vaughn, never done anything. He's a wannabe. Somebody there needs to step up. But what if none of that works? We have kicked around in this space the idea of Miles Sanders being a better running back than anybody in this bunch. The last time we saw him, I believe that would be an accurate portrayal. Scat back kind of style. Was very productive for a couple of years there in Philadelphia, as Cowboy fans know. But Miles Sanders isn't available. And there is being floated around out there a lot of information about that, misinformation about that. He's not available. Chris Swearington, Zeke is all around better than Sanders. The Cowboys hope you're right. Neil Witcher, Uncle Fish Premium. Cowboys are finding out what the 49ers already knew about Lance. Here's the tricky thing, Neil, and I appreciate your contributions, and I appreciate you being in the Uncle Fish Club. Hey, how do I get the circle and the star like Uncle Fish? Ask the fellas. They'll show you how. The same geniuses, Kyle Shanahan, in San Francisco that decided he can't play are the same geniuses who traded up to get him. Which is it? We're going to have to let the cake bake on Trey Lance. On Miles Sanders, he's under contract with the Panthers. Now, could he get cut by the Panthers? They selected Jonathan Brooks in the NFL draft, who the Cowboys, of course, loved, but they didn't love enough to take him. They also have Hubbard on board. So there's a theory being offered up. Well, they're going to cut Miles Sanders. Well, first of all, if it was me, here the Cowboys are scrambling to find one running back, in theory, and you need 4. If you need 4, and Carolina has 3 good ones, why would they cut one of them? Why would they cut Miles Sanders? I'm not saying they couldn't. I'm not saying they won't. I just don't understand why they would. I think he'd have to be terrible for them to cut him. And if he's terrible, why do you want him? Here comes, I swear I'm not going to do this every day, but some days I just can't resist, as we did last night with the Dan Orlovsky thing. We just roasted Dan Orlovsky's thesis because he didn't do any research on Cowboys holdouts. We've done the research. We've lived the research. Go get you some. Also, by the way, at Cowboys Country, we're at Athlon. So I've pinned the link that you can go there. Bookmark that, will you? Cowboys Country. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, who has this habit every weekend. They let him out of his cage. He's a monkey. He grabs feces and he throws it up against the wall. He does this every week. He offers up he especially does it with the Cowboys, offers up what seems to be sourced information about the Cowboys that the people who actually work for this team debunk on a weekly basis. They're getting tired of me calling, saying, Jeremy Fowler says, and they roll their eyes. He says Miles Sanders is on a Dallas Cowboys short list of options. Diddly diddly dink. Wow. Really? He says Miles Sanders is the Cowboys' top target. Diddly diddly dink. Really? That's kind of a big deal. Jeremy, you should write that. I have written it, talking about it. So Will McClay showed Jeremy Fowler Dallas's ranking board of guys who are on teams? No, he didn't. He did not. They have such a list. I don't even know if it's on a board anymore. It's probably in a computer. There is such a list on Will McClay's computer where every player in the league has some sort of a grade. Yeah, we have the story on the CeeDee Lamb rumor. You can get it. As always, go to the link. It's there. Here's the idea quickly on CeeDee Lamb. The framework of 4 years, because that's the going deal. The splitting the difference between the previous high of A.J. Brown at $32 million and the new high of Justin Jefferson at $35 million. How do you split that difference? 33.5. That's why people are coming up with 33.5. Again, Stephen isn't telling anybody it's 4 years and 33.5 million APY. It's logical. Be careful here, guys, with your information. It's not a scoop. It's logic. Is there logic on Miles Sanders? Be skeptical about ESPN saying that they've somehow seen the Cowboys rating board on veterans under contract. That's a big board that Jeremy Fowler is claiming to have had a glimpse of. That's hold on a second. You know how many people are on that board? That's 2,880 people on that board. And ESPN is telling us that they're aware that Miles Sanders is ranked on it inside the Cowboys' cave of information. Here's the problem, and here's why ESPN once again has failed to do its research. I'm not saying it's impossible. If the Panthers cut him, they incur $7.5 million in dead money. Wonk, wonk. Why would you want to pay the cap $7.5 million to not employ him? If he's so good, and he once was in Philadelphia, 2022, had almost 1,300 yards and 11 touchdowns, and would have had a lot more touchdowns if they didn't have the tush push. He would have had 20 touchdowns in a conventional offense. If he's so good, why would you want to pay the cap to not have him? The Cowboys have an awareness of Miles Sanders. I think it's wrong to say that he's the top target. I think it's wrong. He does have escapability. By the way, he's got a multi-year contract. It is escapable. There's an escape hatch after this year. So you can put that into the gumbo pot. But I will say that phrasing of Cowboys have a top target and it's Miles Sanders is putting it way too strongly. And I will suggest that ESPN is using not sources here, but logic. Same thing as the CeeDee Lamb contract. To my knowledge, there's not sources yet. There's logic. Now let's figure out the guaranteed money on CeeDee Lamb. And by the way, we can do that with logic too. You go take these most recent contracts and you can get there. I can get there and you can get there. Now we just need the Cowboys and CeeDee Lamb's representative to get there. So contrary to what's been written, the Panthers aren't cutting Miles Sanders in a cap-saving move because it's not a cap-saving move. It's a cap-crushing move. So that's simply false. How about trading him? Okay, that's more financially viable for the Panthers. So if they decide that they don't want him, can't use him, and they can find a bidder, that can work. They can trade him. And it's being suggested that you would do that for a late round pick. If the Cowboys plow through this preseason or part of it and look around at that room and go, man, oh man, we stink at running back, that's when this becomes more viable. But then the Cowboys are paying a running back $7.5 million. By the way, that's the cap hit. I don't know. I can't remember what the salary is. And the Cowboys are doing exactly what they said they wouldn't even do with Derrick Henry. But now they're going to do it with top target Miles Sanders. Thanks to BetUS for being a part of what we do here. Thanks to you as well. I'm telling you, if you go find that link at Cowboys Country, you will never go anyplace else online for digital Cowboy information. It's wall-to-wall ball. A trade for Sanders is not an ideal blow-it-up friendly move for Dallas. It's not impossible. The Panthers' cutting of Sanders in a cap-saving move would be false. Short list, top target. Those are eyebrow-raising catchphrases. I'm going to frame it more accurately for you on the Cowboys. They are aware of their possible shortcomings in the running backs room. They are aware of Miles Sanders. And if you're going to responsibly report this, that's as far as we go. Trav asked them why they never called Henry. I broke the story on Derrick Henry. You can ask me. He owns a house about 15 miles away from the Star, and they never called him, even though he wanted to take a call. He would have eventually said no to their offer. But they never called him because they didn't want to insult him, which is something they do around here a lot, and it's a horrible mistake. Insult me. You got to try. I think they made a horrible mistake not to try on Derrick Henry. I think they made an assumption, probably had some decent information, but made an assumption based on that information. He's not signing for what we want to offer him. But all it took was we used to say a dime. All it would have cost him was a dime to make the phone call. What would it cost him on Miles Sanders? Well, for them to dump him in Carolina, it's going to cost them $7.5 million. So we cannot responsibly report that the Cowboys have this top secret wish list of the running backs they're going to go trade for, and that Miles Sanders is on top of it. That is not a responsible way to frame what's going on with the Cowboys at running back. All day long, when something happens, boom, we're on it at Cowboys Country. There's a link, and we're here as well. The CeeDee Lamb thing is a rumor. The closeness of it is a matter of semantics. I don't think the 4 years is hard. I don't think the 33.5 is hard. Let's figure out the guarantees. Let's get this thing done. And let's understand, missing training camp does not, for a player, it's distracting, takes away from his reps. It's not good. It does not destroy the season. And I can prove it with the help of as you saw last night. Please go get that if you haven't seen it. I can prove it with the help of Zeke, Zach, Emmett, and lightning striking Michael Irvin's chimney. Fish out.